All right, what's going on there, folks? Welcome back here. It is the Earthmaster back at it on this Monday night for an update here. January 15th, 2024. It's about 11:18 here, California time in the PM. Latest activity shows a 1.5 up into the area of Alaska. I did see some movement further up north here. Got a little bit of swarming going on here, way north, northern Alaska area. First, I want to cover Iceland activity. Where we're looking at about 48 earthquakes here in the last 12 hours. So things are calming down in terms of earthquake activity. We're still seeing some movement around the Grindavik area. The latest information here in terms of the activity there across the area. Let's go over here and check it out from the News Icelandic site. And this is put out earlier this morning here, and they've just been chatting about the earthquake activity, and of course the fissure activity there across the Grindavik area has been taming down, so to speak. And based on webcam footage, is evident that the lava flow has decreased from the eruptive fissures that opened yesterday, 2 days ago now here my time. The fissure that opened up just north of Grindavik has ceased. And I was just checking out the live stream here. Let me go back to it real quick while I bring it up. And it looks as though, this is the fissure activity here. It looks as though things have completely ceased. I don't know when the last time we've seen any type of eruptive activity from any of the fissure vents, but this is looking at the general location of that first large fissure activity north of Grindavik. And there is nothing that I can see here that shows that it is active in terms of eruptive activity. So that's good news to a point. The other news here is that I'm kind of curious, and I think all the other geologists and whatnot are curious as to why we have not seen any deflation event there across the Svartsengi area. So, like we've seen back in December, we've seen a little bit of a drop, right? This event, we did not see any type of deflation event following all this eruptive activity. So there's a couple different things. One, that the activity there around Grindavik is associated with a different type or a different magma reservoir than the Svartsengi area. Or it's possible that we did see further influx of magma during the entire time of the eruptive activity there across the Grindavik area, which, you exit some in terms of magma and you inflow the magma. Going to look the same on the chart. We're going to look at things as far as, being relatively stable here. No inflation or deflation. So there's a couple different scenarios in terms of why we have not seen any deflation activity. But I do think that we are not out of the woods yet. I believe that we're still looking at the potential of further fissure activity south into the Grindavik town itself, potentially offshore as well. I'm basing my observations here off of information I've been viewing. There is the fissure, first one, fairly lengthy. Notice that that retaining or that barrier right here did do a fairly decent job here of diverting the lava flow away from the town. Unfortunately, that fissure activity opened up right across that barrier, and that's why we've seen lava flow entering down south into Grindavik, and then ultimately another fissure opened up well inside the berm area in the town itself, limited here to a couple houses. I think I've heard about 2 houses there being affected. So we're continuing to watch that. Right now, things are they're stable, I guess, in terms of the activity. We're not seeing any eruptive activity currently, and that latest informational statement was put out again earlier today. Gas pollution in terms of the volcanic gases are heading towards the southwest, away from any other populated regions. So southwest out towards the ocean. In the coming days, it looks like there will be ongoing measurements and the collection of additional data, followed by analysis of all these folks wondering what's going on, right? Well, I think we got to hope for the best, right? But prepare for the worst. I still think that we're going to see some activity further down south here. That seems to be the trend here across the area recently. So we'll continue to watch that. Earthquake activity, as I mentioned, is minimal. Not seeing any elevated earthquake activity for now. We may be entering into a little period of pause, so to speak, similar to what we've seen back in December up here from that previous fissure activity. So it's a waiting game. And of course, the folks there will continue to analyze the data and whatnot and give us a report. All right, earthquake activity. Got a little bit of movement out here in Southern California. Not anything major, but it is lighting up out here in the last hour or so. A couple earthquakes here in the Southern California area, including a 2.5 near the Barstow area. That is well away from the plate boundary and away from any major fault systems here. But it looks like it may be on this fault here, the Calico fault zone. A couple other quakes here also in this area of the state of Southern California, or the Southern California region. Nothing major specifically across the San Andreas Fault for now, but definitely looks like things may be somewhat elevated out here in terms of broad regional stress. Earlier this morning, of course, we did see that 4.4 off the coast of San Diego. This area can see some larger earthquakes out here on the San Diego Trough region, so it just looks fairly active. But again, no major movement to report right now. Further up north in Northern California, spotty at best, and into the Pacific Northwest. The latest one shows a 1.3. We did see some activity earlier this morning with a 2.3 earthquake, 46 kilometers deep here. I do know where that's associated with, or I do know what it's associated with here. That's the Cascadia subduction zone that sits offshore here of the area. Let's check here the tremor map real quick, see what we got going on for tremors. Still confined up here to the area of Washington. So we're seeing all that tremor activity downstream, down dip into the Cascadia. It does look like it's adding some strain around the surface areas. Most of the tremor activity here in the last week or so has been confined to this area. So I expect to see maybe potentially some further earthquake activity across the Washington region up here. Backing out here, there's that little swarm going on here just off the, well, actually it's inland, definitely inland, near the Seaward Peninsula here. 4.5 and a couple other earthquakes in there as well. Been quite a while since I've seen any earthquake activity up here, but it's there tonight. 23 kilometers, 15 kilometers deep or so underneath this area. The rest of Alaska, fairly minimal. Not a whole lot to report there. And Hawaii, looks like we're lighting up out here in Pahala, but nothing around our volcanoes. Kilauea and Mauna Loa here, they look fairly quiet. Let's see what we got here for the latest tilt meter with Kilauea Volcano, which has been inflating for quite a while now. Although it looks like in the last 2 days, we've taken a turn here for the deflation event. And I said to watch this, but it looks as though here in the last hour or so, we may be heading back up. If we follow these little trends here, and they've been getting bigger and bigger and bigger since the eruption back in last year, back in September. They've been following this trend of inflation activity. So I expect this, at least looking at this, I think we'll see this gradually rise up and then over the previous event here. That's just how it's been. It's been following this trend, and it continues to inflate and inflate and inflate. What happens when you inflate a balloon? Well, I can't really use that compared to magma and the ground or the surface area, but it's going to happen here soon, I think. But we're waiting for some, I think, a little bit further push of magma from below to really get it going. In terms of earthquake activity, it's been minimal. Earlier, it looks like this morning we did see some magma or some type of fluid movement here, along with some earthquake activity, but Things have mellowed out since then. Relatively calm and quiet here this late afternoon and evening. So we'll continue to watch that and report back on any changes. Kind of skipped over Yellowstone up here. Really only 1.5 out, a little 1.5 near the Hebgen Lake at States. Let's check out the Yellowstone overview real quick. See if we got anything going on here. This activity, you know, let me see what we got here. I'm trying to compare these graphs here. They look, they're definitely independent of each other. I'm not for certain that if that's earthquake activity or not. Doesn't look like it. None of that movement is shown up across any other seismograph stations except for this little spike here. And that did show up across a few other seismograph stations locally. So that is one legit earthquake. But the other stuff looks like some type of outside interference going on there across the area. But no major swarms. No doom and gloom tonight in terms of Yellowstone activity. Oklahoma and Texas still rocking out there slightly. But no major movement. Got an earthquake coming in here south of Taiwan right now, 4.8. That coming in within the last 20 minutes or so. 25 kilometers deep across the area. Some slight uptick, it looks like, here across this region. Philippines southward as well. The areas of Japan, the Mariana Trench, and the Kuril Kamchatka up here remain awfully quiet. Really, really quiet. Look at that. For a major plate boundary and where the stress tends to build up, well, we have gone quiet. We'll keep an eye on that. Some shallow earthquake activity down here across the Kermadec Trench. And way out here on the... Whoa. Got a little dizzy there for a second. Way out here on the opposite side of the world, this 5-pointer coming in earlier this morning. Well south of South Africa. But far as any... major activity out here across this area of the globe, really not seeing it. Give a quick glance here at the New Zealand activity and see if there's anything to chat about. Latest information here from the nzquakes.com site. Strongest earthquake here looks like that 5.3 coming in to the area of the Kermadec Trench earlier, well north of North Island. Latest earthquake here shows a 2.7. That's going to be in the green pinpoint way down here, South Island area. Doesn't look like we're seeing any huge earthquake activity. Really nothing major to report across the area for now. All right, solarham.net. Here is the website to monitor some space weather activity. We're mellow, leveling out here, pretty much flatlined here across the solar flare detection. Now, you would think with this type of activity, we'd be looking at some major flaring going on, right? There's a lot of sunspots. Why are we not seeing the flaring? Well, these sunspots here are all pretty much relatively stable in terms of their magnetic complexity. You got to have a lot of, at least on this map here, the magnetogram, you have to have a lot of intermixing of these colors. Really in really close proximity to one another, and we're just not seeing that. That would indicate some complexity, which would in turn create the potential for some stronger flaring. But these are all stable. I'm really not expecting any type of major activity. Even moderate activity looks very minimal for this current situation out here. Current threat shows a 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 30. X flare around 5% chance or so, but don't count on it. No major auroras in the forecast here. Things are fairly calm and quiet, so to speak, here across the sun. Storm Prediction Center out here. Not a whole lot of severe weather threat. Looks like maybe later on in the day on Tuesday. Later on Tuesday here, we could have a marginal risk for some severe weather. That is mainly due to, well, it looks like a 2% zone of tornado probability for Tuesday. That includes Tampa and Orlando area, Clearwater as well. So just a heads up. Latest numerical models here continue to show a wetter pattern out here across the west coast. Here's our storm system coming in tomorrow. Not really expecting much in terms of precipitation total accumulation out here. Probably about maybe half an inch here from where I live in Chico. The rest of the country still dealing with some cold, a little bit of snow, lake effect snow up there across the Great Lakes. Snow coming down into portions of the eastern areas as well. And then on Saturday, we begin our series of storm systems out here across California. And that's going to bring some warmer air in across the, for the most part, the majority of the country. And as you can see, we got some storms firing up here in Texas. Pretty nice, actually. And a lot of that pattern there is going to get rid of the colder weather right up until about the 25th or 26th. That's when it looks like we see maybe a return of some colder patterns. Look at that. See these blue lines here? That's a much colder air coming down into the a good portion of the eastern states. Precipitation and accumulation rates out here over the next several runs. Backed out a little bit here across the California area, but this is, it's always changing here. But most of the models are very consistent with a pattern change of wetter, warmer systems hitting the California area. So we're still expecting around maybe 2 to 3 inches of rain here out where I live. That's a GFS model. The ECM WF model here shows roughly about the same, maybe a little less in that rain shadow. I'm hoping that's not where I'm at. But either way, it does show some wetter conditions out here across the California area. So yeah, all volcanoes out there for the most part look calm and clear out across the states. Only minimal movement there across the Great Sitkin area of Alaska. That's been kind of off and on in eruptive stage for a little while now, but no new movement to report. Back over here against the Northern Mariana Islands, there has been a little bit of mentioning of some discolored water in this seamount, and that could be due to, let me see here, let's bring this up. Is it going to let me see the update? Where am I? Publications? But I did read something here that there was some discolored water showing up. Oh, where am I? That was showing up around this area, and they think that is due to maybe some potential volcanic activity around the seamount, which is currently sitting at an advisory, but I click on it for additional information and it's just not working. So either way, we'll continue to watch that and report back on anything that does change out there, of course. And Iceland, it's just a waiting game. I think it's one of those things that we have to be prepared for, that maybe things, may get worse out here before they get better. Obviously, with the GPS activity, the inflation not going down, that still tells us that there's still quite a bit of magma inflow into the area. So we are not out of the woods yet. I would like to say, that was it, but I just don't think that's it right now. That would be awesome if this was the only case, for the Grindavik area, but we'll continue to watch that and report back on any major changes. I am going to keep the webcam video here from the live from Iceland.is site on the live stream for now. That way you can keep an eye on things out here, but for the most part, it looks as though all the eruptive activity has quieted down. There's still obviously going to be some hot spots out here in the lava field, and it will take a little time to cool down, but I haven't seen any eruptive activity, any spewing of the lava out here in a little while. All right, seismograph stations here. Something's showing up here across Yellowstone. I'm not for certain though if that's earthquake activity or not. Could be some wind or ice events going on. But yeah, So anyway, we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. Tomorrow is Tuesday. At least my time, it'll be tomorrow, Tuesday. Have a good night, folks, and congratulations there to the member winners that got picked out earlier today. If you don't know if you won or not, go check out the video. It's up on the channel. Have a good one, folks. Have a good night. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow.